Hello and welcome to the Sins Review. I'm your host, Jackie Sins. Top of the morning to you, or top of the evening to you, depending on whenever you're watching it. Okay, I'm gonna stop that right now. So being a reviewer of horror, thriller, action, sci-fi, and fantasy, I come across a lot of weird shit. None weirder than the movie I'm about to review. With it being St. Patrick's Day, I am of course reviewing Leprechaun.
The luck of the Irish is being packed.
Leprechaun, released in 1993 and directed by Mark Jones, stars Jennifer Aniston, Ken Olant, Mark Holton, Robert H. Gorman, and Warwick Davis as the titular Leprechaun. Dan O'Grady, played by the late Shay Duffin, steals 100 gold coins from the Leprechaun while he was on vacation in Ireland, and the Leprechaun followed him home. As shown in the trailer, the Leprechaun was sealed away in the basement, and ironically, what's used against him is a shamrock, so that's kind of his weaknesses. And also, not having his pot of gold puts quite a damper on his powers. So I guess you could say the leading lady, Tori Redding, played by Jennifer Aniston, and her father set out to rent the O'Grady place for the summer, but it could use a renovation. Tori gets freaked out by all the spiders and dust and stuff. She ends up running outside into Nathan, played by Ken Olant. She apologizes for making him spill a bucket of paint thinner, hands him some money, and then tries to get away as quickly as possible. Because she's scared of a few bugs.
Only knows what else is in there. What's so funny?
Well, I just think it's funny the way girls are always afraid of spiders and stuff, you know?
Bud. Hey, this is the 90s. Women are treated equal.
I hate to break it to you, girl, but even here in the year 2022, women are still not all being, treated equal to men. And we have a female vice president. But, still, what Nathan said is incredibly sexist. Well, Tori decides to stay and deal just to prove a point. So much for a strong, independent woman making decisions for herself and not because of anyone else. Well, Nathan turns out to be one of the guys working on renovating the place, hence the bucket of paint thinner. The other guy is Ozzy, who goes down to the basement and, well, you can guess where this is going.
Hello? Hello?
So is the little devil going to wreak havoc in the search for his pot of gold?
Hey, Tubby, you got a light for an old leprechaun's pipe?
Okay. He is, dare I say, polite here, and really, he doesn't even look all that scary anyway. Why not have a few puffs while you're down there?
Seen a crock of gold lying around? Tell me, or I'll bite your ear off, and I'll make a boot out of it.
That makes more sense. So, all this trouble over some gold coins, eh? So, if you don't steal his gold, he doesn't... How did he put it?
Or I'll bite your ear off, and I'll make a boot out of it.
Right. He doesn't do that, or kill you in some sort of way. if O'Grady never stole the leprechaun's gold, there would be no trouble, and therefore no conflict, and therefore no movie. So yeah, best to skip the semantics, right? So eventually, yes, the leprechaun goes on a murderous rampage to retrieve his gold.
Me coin! It's not nice to steal gold coins from a leprechaun. That's a... Now we're going to play.
This is oddly brutal for how silly it is.
He's just playing around until he finally reaches the guy and plunk.
So for how silly this antagonist is, he still manages to be a little intimidating.
He kind of reminds me of Freddy Krueger in a sense.
Now, of course, no one can top Freddy. There is one particular scene that did have me a little bit on edge. I don't think explaining it is really going to do it justice, so I'm just going to show you a little bit.
Come on out, play me, friends.
Must have been on PCP. Broke every bone in his hand. Wouldn't feel it for hours.
Tori got a gun. Her life had just begun. Walk this way. Talk this way.
Okay, maybe that wasn't necessary, but seriously, what does she think she's gonna do with that? I mean, what is he?
What the hell are you?
I'm a leprechaun, me dear.
I mean, it's no.
Come to Freddy.
But yeah. So, what do I think about the film Leprechaun? It sure is weird.
I think it was clearly meant to be a horror comedy.
A shoemaker by trade. And speaking of shoes...
Which is fine. It just kind of overdid the comedy a little bit. You know, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad movie, though. I remember watching this when I was a kid, and yes, again, it's rated R, but my parents let me watch it, and, you know.
I didn't really find it really scary back then, and I find it less so now that I'm an adult.
I guess you could say there's a bit of nostalgia here, but I still think this movie is pretty entertaining, whether it's scary or not. What I mean to say is a movie, regardless of whatever the makers intended it to be, doesn't mean that it'll get the desired result, but that doesn't necessarily have any bearing on the quality of the film.
This one may be a little too silly for some, but there's clearly those who appreciate it for what it is.
I give Leprechaun Sin. This has been the Sins Review. I'm Jackie Sins with a heart full of blarney.